What if you could see when someone would die just by looking at their feet? In the village of Adri, young Nia bears a gift that could save lives or doom her own. This is her story. Hello family, enjoy this relaxing moment with AfriTales 38. Remember to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comment section and generously hit the like button because it means a lot to us. Please relax and enjoy as we dive in the story. The footprints only she could see. The sun rose slowly over the quiet village of Adri, painting the mud huts and tall palm trees in golden light. Roosters crowed, children laughed in the distance, and the smell of wood smoke and boiling yam filled the air. Life seemed simple and peaceful in this village nestled between thick forest and rocky hills. But Nia knew that beneath the calm surface, something strange and powerful walked among them, something only she could see. Nia was just 14, a quiet girl with wide eyes that seemed to notice everything. She lived with her grandmother, Mama Ife, the village healer. Everyone respected Mama Ife. She mixed herbs that healed wounds, prayed words that calmed sick children, and spoke in whispers that made grown men listen. Nia learned many things from her grandmother, like how to crush bitter leaves into paste and how to listen to a tree when it whispered with the wind. But nothing could prepare her for the day she saw the footprints. It started one early morning when she went to fetch water from the stream. The sun had barely touched the earth, and the ground was still cool. She walked quietly, humming a song Mama Ife had taught her. As she approached the edge of the stream, she saw her best friend, Corey, laughing as he filled his calabash. But something stopped Nia in her tracks. There, glowing softly beneath Corey's feet, were footprints made of light, each one shining like a lantern in the early dawn. They stretched out behind him, a perfect path of golden steps. Nia blinked, rubbed her eyes, looked again. They were still there. Corey, she called, her voice shaking. Do you see anything on the ground? He looked confused. Sand. No, never mind, she mumbled, afraid she might be going mad. She followed him back to the village, watching as each glowing footprint faded seconds after he stepped forward. It was like the ground was keeping track of something invisible, something only Nia could see. That night, she told Mama Ife. Her grandmother's face grew still. Did the footprints stop somewhere? She asked quietly. Nia nodded. They ended by the big mango tree, near the edge of the forest. Mama Ife sighed and took Nia's hands in hers. My child, sometimes the world chooses people to see what others cannot. These footprints, they may be a gift. Or they may be a test. Nia didn't understand. But 3 days later, Corey fell from the mango tree while picking fruit and didn't wake up. The village wept. His mother tore her clothes in sorrow. Nia stood in the back, staring at the tree, remembering the footprints that had ended right there. That night, she couldn't sleep. She had to know if this was a coincidence. And so, Nia began to look at everyone's feet. Some people had no footprints beneath them at all, just bare earth. Others had footprints that stretched behind them like glowing trails, some long, some short. And some stopped only a few paces ahead. One day, she saw Mama Naya, the old woman who gathered herbs in the forest. Nia froze. There were only 3 glowing steps left under her feet. Terrified, Nia ran to Mama Ife. I have to tell her. She's going to die. Mama Ife hesitated. If you do, what will you say? That you saw glowing footprints. Will she believe you? I don't know. But I have to try. The next morning, Nia stood outside Mama Naya's hut. Please, don't go into the forest today, she begged. Something bad will happen. Mama Naya raised an eyebrow. And why not? Nia took a deep breath. I had a dream. A bad one. Please just stay. Something in Nia's voice must have touched her, because Mama Naya stayed home that day. That evening, the village heard the roar of a leopard deep in the forest. Hunters found the animal's tracks near the path Mama Naya would have taken. Word spread quickly, Nia had saved Mama Naya. People whispered in awe. Some called her gifted. Others called her blessed. For a while, Nia felt hope. Maybe she could use this strange power for good. But soon, the whispers changed. A young man she had won laughed at her and died in his sleep the next week. A mother she had begged to keep her child home refused and the child drowned in the river the next day. Now the whispers were sharper. She's a witch. She cursed them. She sees death. Nia began to walk alone. No one invited her to fetch water anymore. Children ran away when she passed. Mothers crossed themselves and whispered prayers. One evening, at the village square, Nia tried to explain. I only see the footprints, she said. I'm not the one who makes them. But fear is a powerful thing. People see what they want to see. She stopped speaking of the footprints. But she couldn't stop seeing them. Every day, she watched people walking toward their unknown ends. Some long paths, some cruelly short. Nia began to wonder if seeing was worse than not knowing. She once saw a baby with only 4 glowing steps. By nightfall, the child had died of fever. How do you live knowing when others will die? How do you walk among the living when all you can see is how close they are to the end? Nia felt the weight of her gift growing heavier each day. And yet, she couldn't look away. Whispers in the shadows. The rainy season came to Adri with heavy clouds and soft, endless drizzles that soaked the red earth and filled the rivers. Life slowed. The drums of celebration quieted. People stayed indoors longer, cooking soups and roasting maize by the fire. But for Nia, the rain did not wash away the weight she carried. In fact, it seemed to make it heavier. Each day, she continued to see the glowing footprints. Some days they were everywhere, glowing on the wet mud like scattered fireflies. Other days, she would see only a few, but always enough to remind her that death was never far. She tried not to look. She trained her eyes to focus on faces, trees, the sky. But even when she didn't mean to, the footprints would catch her eye, trails of golden light, counting down to an unknown end. She stopped speaking about it. People didn't want to know, not really. They feared her more now than ever. One evening, as she fetched firewood near the edge of the forest, she heard 2 women talking behind the tall grasses. I'm telling you, she's the reason Corey died. She cursed Mama Naya too. Look at how strange she's become. Always watching the ground. Nia froze. Her heart thudded. She knew the voices, Auntie Tay and Sua, her mother's old friends. They used to give her roasted yams and sweets when she was small. Now they feared her. That night, Nia cried into her mat. Mama Ife sat beside her, stroking her back gently. Sometimes the world fears what it does not understand, Mama Ife said. But that does not make your gift evil, my child. But it feels like a curse, Nia whispered. I don't want to see anymore. Mama Ife looked at her for a long time. Then she reached under her bed and brought out a small gourd covered in red cloth. This belonged to your mother, she said quietly. She also saw things. Nia sat up. She did. Mama Ife nodded. She saw visions in her dreams. She used to cry, too. But like you, she tried to help. People loved her. Until she saw something they didn't want to hear. What did she see? A sickness. A fever that came to the village. Mama Ife's eyes turned sad. She warned them, begged them to prepare. But they ignored her. When the fever came, many died. They blamed her. Said she brought it. She left in the night and never returned. Nia was silent. Her heart ached. You are not alone in this, Mama Ife said softly. But only you can choose how to carry this gift. Days passed. Nia watched quietly as the village prepared for the annual harvest festival. People cleaned their compounds, young boys practiced drumming, and women dyed cloth with bright colors. It was a time of joy, meant to give thanks for the harvest and pray for a long life. But Nia saw something that made her chest tighten with dread. Her friend Chitsi, the boy who played the flute so beautifully, had only 2 glowing steps beneath him. She watched in horror as he danced barefoot near the river, his laughter ringing through the air. 2 steps. Nia ran to him. Chitsi. Don't go to the river tomorrow. Please. He tilted his head. Why not? She hesitated. I had a dream. It wasn't good. Please stay close to home. Chitsi laughed. You and your dreams? Don't worry, Nia. I'll be fine. But he didn't come home that night. They found his flute floating by the riverbank. The current had taken his body away. The village mourned again. But this time, the whispers turned louder. She saw it again. Why didn't she stop it? She brings death like a shadow. The elders called for a council. Nia sat alone on a wooden stool in the center of the gathering hut. The fire crackled, casting shadows on the walls. Around her, the elders sat in silence, 12 wise men and women who guided the village with old wisdom. Chief Obodio, the head of the council, cleared his throat. Nia, child of Mama Ife, he said, his voice deep. You have been brought here so we may understand what works with you. I don't bring death, Nia said softly. I only see the footprints. Footprints? Asked Elder Kunta, frowning. What kind? They glow under people's feet, she explained. Some are long. Some are short. They disappear when the person dies. The elders looked at each other, murmuring. She warned Mama Naya, someone said. And Chitsi, added another. But not everyone listens, said Elder Ruka. And when they die, the blame falls on her. Chief Obodio raised his hand. This gift, if true, is not evil, he said slowly. But it is dangerous. Not because of her, but because of what people fear. He turned to Mama Ife. Has she harmed anyone? No, Mama Ife said firmly. She only sees. She tries to help. Another elder, Boba Eniton, leaned forward. But if people keep dying after her warnings, and fear grows, what then? What do we do to protect the peace? There was a long silence. Then Obodio spoke. Let her be. But she must not speak of what she sees unless the council permits. Fear is like fire, it can burn through reason if left unchecked. Nia bowed her head. She was not punished. But she was silenced. No more warnings. No more trying to save. She walked home with Mama Ife that night, feeling both relieved and hollow. She had tried to help. Now she would be quiet. She had no choice. But the footprints did not stop appearing. One morning, Nia went to the market with Mama Ife. As they walked past the yam seller, she saw a boy playing with a carved wooden toy. He was small, no older than 6. His name was Tari. Nia paused. Her eyes drifted downward, and her heart stopped. Only one glowing step. Just one. Her hand trembled as she picked up a basket. Her lips itched to speak, to scream, to warn his mother who stood nearby selling okra. But she remembered the council's words. Do not speak. Still, she watched the boy all day. Followed him with her eyes. Every second felt sharp and heavy. When the sun began to set, she saw him chase a chicken toward the edge of the river. Her breath caught. No. She ran. Tari was laughing, arms outstretched. The chicken fluttered ahead. The river was swollen from rain. Nia sprinted, faster than she ever had, and caught his arm just before he slipped. She pulled him back, both of them falling in the mud. His mother came running, breathless, screaming his name. What happened? She cried, snatching the boy to her chest. Nia stood, covered in mud. She opened her mouth. Then closed it. Nothing, she whispered. He almost tripped. The mother nodded her thanks and carried Tari away. But something had changed. That night, the footprints under Nia's own feet began to glow. The price of a single step. That night, Nia sat by the fire in silence, her knees drawn to her chest. The rain had returned in steady drops, tapping the roof like soft drums. Mama Ife moved quietly around their small hut, stirring a pot of pepper soup and humming an old lullaby. But Nia could not relax. Her eyes stayed fixed on the dirt floor. The glowing footprints were still there under her feet. Faint. Flickering. But real. She had seen them the moment she returned home, stretching a short distance behind her like the ones she saw on others. She had always walked without them. Always been the watcher. Now, something had shifted. She wasn't just seeing fate anymore. She was part of it. "Mama," she said quietly. "I saw footprints." "Mine." Mama Ife froze. "Are you sure?" Nia nodded. Her hands were cold. They weren't long. They stopped, not far behind me. Mama Ife sat beside her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "You saved that boy, didn't you?" she asked gently. Nia nodded again. "You did what your heart told you was right. But sometimes, child, fate demands balance." Nia looked at her grandmother, tears pooling in her eyes. "Does it mean I'm going to die?" Mama Ife's expression was sad but calm. "We all will, someday. But perhaps you shortened your time by stepping into a path that wasn't yours to walk." Nia buried her face in her hands. "I just wanted to help." "I know," Mama Ife said. "But fate, it is like a woven cloth. Pull one thread too hard, and the whole thing unravels." That night, Nia couldn't sleep. She lay awake, watching the small fire in the hearth slowly burn down to embers. Over and over again, she replayed the moment she grabbed little Tari's arm. The muddy ground. The rushing river. His mother's grateful tears. Was one life exchanged for another? She rose before dawn and stepped outside, barefoot in the cool morning mist. She looked down again. The footprints were still there. Still short. Still glowing. A heavy feeling sank into her chest, like a stone dropped into a deep well. The next few days, Nia stopped going to the market. She stayed close to home, trying not to look at her feet. Trying not to think about how many steps were left. She spoke little, ate even less, and often stared into the distance for hours. Mama Ife watched her quietly, giving her space but never leaving her alone. On the third morning, Chief Obodil came to visit. He sat across from Nia on the wooden bench outside their hut, his eyes kind but serious. "I've heard what happened near the river," he said. Nia didn't speak. "You broke the agreement," he continued. "But you saved a life. I came not to punish you, but to understand." Nia looked up at him. "I didn't mean to break the rules. I couldn't let him die." Obodil nodded. "I understand. But now the village is unsettled again. Some are afraid your power is growing. Others think the river spirits are angry." He paused. "Have the footprints returned?" Nia hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes. Under me." Chief Obodil's eyes darkened slightly. "Then your act has taken root. Something has changed." He stood to leave but placed a hand on her shoulder. "You must prepare yourself, Nia. Not all gifts come without cost." As he walked away, Nia felt something inside her harden, not in anger, but in resolve. She could no longer pretend her gift was harmless. It was a living force, tied to the rhythm of the world, to things far older than she could understand. She could no longer simply see. She was now part of the story. Later that week, strange things began happening in Adri. A fire broke out in the yam storehouse during a storm. The wind tore roofs from 2 huts. A fever spread among the chickens, leaving many dead. The villagers whispered that the gods were angry. And in every whisper, Nia's name returned like an echo. She's the cause. She broke the order. Her footprints glow now too, she's cursed herself. Nia stayed inside. But fear has a way of seeping through walls. Then, one evening, a knock came at the door. It was Tari's mother, the woman she had saved. She stood quietly, holding her son's hand. "I want to thank you," she said, her voice low. "You saved my child. No matter what anyone says, I will never forget." Nia blinked in surprise. "Thank you," she whispered. The woman nodded and turned to go. But Tari, the small boy, stepped forward and handed Nia a small wooden carving, a flute, like the one Chitsi used to play. "I made it for you," he said shyly. Nia took it, her hands trembling. After they left, she sat staring at the little flute, feeling warmth rise in her chest for the first time in days. A life had been saved. A mother was grateful. A child had hope. Maybe, she thought, this was the meaning behind her gift, not to change fate freely, but to offer light where darkness threatened to swallow everything. The next day, she stepped outside again. She began helping Mama Ife with healing duties, gathering herbs, cleaning wounds, preparing roots. People still avoided her gaze, but they no longer whispered as loudly. Some watched with guarded curiosity. A few even nodded silently. But the footprints beneath her feet still glowed. And they were still short. That night, as she lay on her mat, Nia closed her eyes and whispered to the stars. "If I have only a little time left, then let it matter." The gift that burned bright. The dry season arrived in Adri like fire. The rain stopped. The ground cracked underfoot. The river shrank, showing stones that hadn't been seen in months. With the heat came stillness. Even the birds grew quiet in the trees. But inside Nia, something was waking up. The glowing footprints under her feet still trailed only a short distance, but instead of fear, she now felt a kind of peace. She no longer saw her gift as a curse. It was heavy, yes. Painful. But it was hers. And with it, she could choose to do something that mattered. Mama Ife watched her closely as she rose earlier each morning and walked with quiet purpose. Nia tended the sick, swept the paths, helped repair roofs, and even smiled sometimes. She wasn't trying to prove anything. She was simply living, one step at a time. And every step counted. One evening, as the sun set like a golden drum over the hills, a group of young girls came to her hut. Among them was Amira, a girl Nia used to play with before everything changed. "Can you help my little sister?" Amira asked nervously. "She has been coughing for days." Nia followed without hesitation. When they reached the small hut, she saw the child curled up in a mat, her forehead burning with fever. Nia knelt beside her, whispering softly, pressing a cool cloth to the child's head. She mixed herbs with honey, gave her water in small sips, and stayed through the night. By morning, the child's fever broke. Amira hugged Nia tightly. "Thank you," she whispered. The news spread like wildfire. Not the old fear but something new. Hope. She healed Amira's sister. She didn't bring death, she brought help. She's not cursed, maybe she was chosen. Even the elders began to shift. Chief Obodil came again, this time not to warn, but to listen. "Nia," he said, standing beside her as she sorted medicinal roots, "you've walked through fire. But you've returned with light. Perhaps the path ahead was never meant to be easy, but it was always meant to be yours." She nodded quietly. "I understand now. My gift was never just about seeing death, it was about deciding how to live, even when death is near." That night, as she stepped out into the moonlight, something strange happened. The footprints beneath her glowed, and extended farther. Not long. But longer than before. She smiled to herself. Every choice mattered. Every act of love, of healing, of bravery, it seemed to push her path a little further. But fate was not finished testing her. A few days later, the alarm drum sounded. A group of children had wandered into the forest and hadn't returned. Panic gripped the village. The forest, now dry and thick with heat, was dangerous. Animals hunted nearer to the edges. Fires could spark from a single strike of lightning. The parents cried. The elders gathered. Chief Obodil raised his voice, "Who will go into the forest?" There was silence. Then Nia stepped forward. "I will." Whispers spread like wind. Some protested. "She'll only bring more danger. She's not strong enough." But others watched with wide eyes. Some even nodded. Mama Ife stepped beside her. If you go, go with courage. Go knowing who you are. Nia entered the forest alone. The trees were tall and dry, their leaves rustling like bones. She moved quickly, calling the names of the children Kojo, Amina, Bola, her voice echoing through the branches. Then she saw them. Huddled near a fallen tree, scared and shivering. But something else was there too. Smoke. A small fire had started nearby, catching the dry grass. The wind pushed it closer. Nia rushed to the children. Come. Quickly. They clung to her, and she led them through the forest, taking turns carrying the youngest on her back. But as they neared the edge of safety, a branch cracked and fell between them, blocking the path. The fire was spreading fast. Nia had to choose. She could run back with the children another way, but it would take too long. She looked around, thinking. Then she saw a narrow opening through a ridge of rocks. It was steep, but if she climbed up and helped each child, they could escape. She boosted them one by one, Kojo, Amina, then Bola. Her arms burned, her breath grew short, the heat of the flames kissing her back. She lifted the last child and pushed him up with all her strength. Then the branch above her cracked. Nia jumped aside just as it fell, but a sharp edge sliced across her arm. Blood soaked her sleeve. Still, she climbed the rocks. Still, she pressed forward. Still, she did not stop. When she emerged with the children at the edge of the village, people ran to them with tears and shouts. Mothers clutched their children. Fathers fell to their knees. Chief Obodio stood frozen, then bowed his head deeply. Nia's body trembled. Her arm throbbed. But her heart was light. They were safe. That night, the village gathered. Not to accuse. Not to fear. But to honor. They lit fires, not for warning, but for celebration. Nia has walked the path of the ancestors, Obodio said to the crowd. She has faced the forest, the flames, and her own fate. And she returned with life, not death. The villagers chanted her name. Nia. 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 But Nia was quiet. She stepped away from the noise, toward the edge of the hill where the moon hung low. And there, beneath her bare feet, she saw the footprints again. They still glowed. But they were faint. And they ended soon. She knew. The price had been set. But she smiled. Because she had used every step to lift someone else. To save. To heal. To change hearts. And that, she believed, was worth any ending. The echo in the wind. The village of Adri had never been so quiet. After the rescue, after the fire, after the tears and the praise, something deep and still settled over the people. They had seen courage. They had witnessed something ancient and sacred, something that humbled them all. Nia had saved the children. And something in her had changed. She no longer moved with hesitation. Her steps were calm, her voice softer, wiser. The fear that once clung to her had vanished. It was as if she had stepped fully into the road that fate had carved for her, and now she walked it without fear. But Mama Ife saw the truth in Nia's eyes. Time was slipping. Each day, Nia grew quieter, as if she was listening to something no one else could hear. She smiled more, but her eyes were always searching the sky, the wind, the earth, looking for signs. Her footprints, when she looked down, were nearly gone. One morning, she sat with Mama Ife in the hut, peeling cocoyam. "Grandma," she said softly, "what happens when the last step disappears?" Mama Ife paused. Her hand stopped moving. "I don't know, my child. No one truly does. But I believe, when it comes, you will not be alone." That evening, Nia walked through the village. Children followed her again, laughing, playful, full of joy. Adults greeted her with respect. Some still kept their distance, unsure how to approach someone who had touched the edge of the spirit world and returned. But no one called her a curse anymore. She was no longer the girl who saw death. She was the girl who chose life in the face of it. Later, she climbed the highest hill near the village alone. It was where Corey had once picked mangoes. Where she first saw the glowing footprints. Where everything began. The wind whispered around her. And she listened. She sat beneath the old tree, the same one where her best friend had fallen, and for a while, she was simply a girl again, barefoot, watching the stars come out one by one. Then she closed her eyes. And took her final step. Morning came slowly. The villagers woke to birdsong and sunlight. But when Mama Ife went to wake Nia, her mouth was empty. A cold stillness filled the air. They searched the huts. They searched the paths. Finally, someone looked to the hilltop, and there, near the mango tree, they found her small, carved flute lying in the grass. But Nia was gone. There were no signs of struggle. No prints in the dirt. No message. Only silence. And wind. At first, the village grieved. Some cried out. Others stood in silence, staring at the sky as though searching for her among the clouds. But Mama Ife simply smiled through her tears. She did not die, she told them gently. She returned to the path that was always meant for her. They did not find her body. But from that day forward, whenever the wind swept through the village, people said they could hear a faint melody, like a flute being played softly from somewhere beyond the trees. Children said Nia was now part of the wind. Old men said she had become a spirit guardian. And Mama Ife, sitting by her fire, whispered, "She is watching still." Years passed. The story of Nia was told again and again around fires, in classrooms, in songs and dances. The girl who saw footsteps. The one who knew when lives would end, and chose to save even when it cost her everything. Her name became a prayer mothers whispered over newborns. A warning to those who feared what they did not understand. And a lesson that sometimes the burden of knowledge is heavy, but if carried with love, it can change the world. Children played near the mango tree again, unafraid. Some left gifts there, flowers, beads, little wooden carvings. Others sat quietly, hoping they might hear the wind sing. And every once in a while, someone said they saw a faint shimmer beneath their feet, a soft glow, like a footprint made of gold. They never feared it again. Because they remembered Nia. And they knew that no step was ever wasted. The villagers chanted her name. Nia. 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 But Nia was quiet. She stepped away from the noise, toward the edge of the hill where the moon hung low. And there, beneath her bare feet, she saw the footprints again. They still glowed. But they were faint. And they ended soon. She knew. The price had been set. But she smiled. Because she had used every step to lift someone else. To save. To heal. To change hearts. And that, she believed, was worth any ending. Thanks for watching and please don't forget to subscribe and share please.